everyone, I'm Emily, and this is going to be a Flosstube video talking about the cross-stitching that I have done over the past month. In that time, I have worked on all 4 of the projects that I'm currently working on, so I'm pretty pleased about that. Made some pretty decent progress on all of them. Well, okay, except for one, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. So I'm just going to show them to you in chronological order. These are the ones I've shown you in the last several, so there's nothing super new and exciting, but I'm making progress. So this is my 12 Days of Christmas. It was a like mystery stitch along done by Plum Street Samplers in Christmas, I believe it was 2015, a little bit behind. So I'll insert a picture of where it was last time you saw it here. But since then, I have finished the 4th day and gone on to start the 5th day. I haven't gotten very far on it, but I've gotten some work on that. This is very small because I'm doing it 1/1 on a 28 count linen. I know it's not necessarily the easiest to see, although right now it's looking pretty good. It was actually just some random linen that I'd found at a thrift store and some random threads that I happened to have next to me. I kind of started on a whim. I still really like it. And when I finish it, I'm definitely going to put it with a white background to help you see it better. So nothing super new and exciting to report other than I really do like doing the 1/1 on 28 count. It's very small, but I like it. I like working small, and I currently don't have any eye issues that would make that problematic, so I figure I'll do my teeny tiny projects while I'm still young. Both my parents wear glasses or contacts. Unfortunately, neither my brother nor I do, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we avoided that. Yeah, so not a ton new there. I always feel like there's not much to talk about with that one because it's just a really simple sampler 12 Days of Christmas. Everyone else finished it 2 years ago. Actually, no, I think there's some people still working on it, so I'm not entirely alone. So the next project I worked on was my 4 Heavenly Beasts. It is a Heaven and Earth Designs artwork by Kayumi Harai. That's what it's going to look like. I am currently on the 3rd page that I'm working on. Oh, I don't remember if I showed you at the time. I'm working on a Q-snap, and I made myself this little bag. It has snaps up at the top, and they're positioned so that I can actually have this on my frame, kind of like this, and then slide the bag over it and clip it on. So that way I can leave it on the frame and I won't have things spill on it. Oh hey, I still have my pattern on it. Let me take that off right now. That's the other thing, is with the bag, I can leave the pattern on it. I can leave the needle minder and the needles on it. I can leave everything on it. So I did page 1, page 2. This is page like 9 or something, I don't know. But I'm kind of going diagonally down so I don't end up stuck with a bunch of boring blank stuff at the bottom. Well, not blank, but you know, not animal, not Heavenly Beast. So the last time you saw it, I'll insert a picture here, but I think I was about here-ish, right above Tiger's tail. So I've put Tiger's tail on and finished this column that I was working on. And then I have one more 20 stitch wide column that I'm going to do, and I'll be done with my 3rd page of the project. And my mother calls while I'm in the filming. Again. It happened in my last video too. So, I'm parking in this. I do 20 stitch rows. I have a whole video on that if you're interested. And if you're not, that's cool too. But I'm looking forward to, I guess this is going to be Tiger's thigh next time. It'll be fun. So, I'm working on that with my Heaven and Earth designs because they are full coverage, and so it's easy to calculate how much I've done, because I don't have to worry about stitches that aren't filled in. I have a spreadsheet where I like to put in how much I've done and the date, and it'll calculate for me, you know, what percentage done I am and when I'm expected to finish it. So I am actually 9.66% done. I'm nearly 10% done with this project, which is pretty good. I think my impression is that it's fairly small for a full-sized Heaven and Earth Designs. It's 32 pages, yeah. And I think that, to me, feels a little bit small, especially in comparison to the other one that I have. I don't know, if you're more familiar with the Heaven and Earth designs, this is the very first one I ever started. Let me know if that seems small for a regular-sized design. So anyway, I'm almost 10% done. If I continue at the pace that I have been, I'm expected to finish in 2045, which would make me 58 years old, which is not bad. That being said, I don't really expect to continue at the pace that I am because that includes almost a year of not working on it in my estimate. Obviously, my spreadsheet is only as good as the data that it has, and granted, I could also just take another year of not working on it, which would throw things off again, but I suspect I'm going to get it done before then. I hope I'm going to get it done before then. So that was the 4 Heavenly Beasts. Love that one. The next piece that I worked on was my Flower of the Month. That was also, like the 12 Days of Christmas, that was a mystery monthly stitch-along that was done a long time ago, this one in 2010. I didn't start that one at the time that it started, so I'm not 10 years behind, just 8 years behind. It's 2018, not 2020. Anyway, I am currently working on November the Chrysanthemum, and last time you saw this, I had just done kind of this area, and now I filled in this flower and I'm working on these leaves that's all over here. I am working this, oh, you know what, I totally didn't tell you that on my 4 Heavenly Beasts, I'm doing it on 18 count Aida 2/1. If you care, if you didn't, already know from having seen it 15 times before. On this one, I am working with this on a, is it 28? It is 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself with some brown Rit dye, so it's kind of got some modeling. I'm working them out of order, so I did July and then November because I'm picking which modeling I want behind each flower. Some flowers I want more modeling, some flowers I want less, kind of a deal. So I actually ended up, it was cheaper to buy 2 pieces that were each big enough for 6 of the flowers than it would have been to buy 1 piece that was big enough for all 12 of the flowers, and because I wanted to finish them individually and hang up 1 each month rather than finishing them in a large set of 12, it's just easier for me to find room for little ones on my wall, then I decided to do it that way. And the other thing that I've done differently, because I am doing this as individual motifs. Man, I am tired today. Because I'm doing this as individual motifs, the original pattern called for a light brown to be this outline and these kind of dashed lines inside. And I decided to go with the darkest color in the flower for 2 reasons. One is I thought that it would go better with the flower than a random brown that's not in the flower. I think if you're doing it as a set of 12 on a single piece of cloth, then yeah, having one that's the same border for all the flowers would help tie it together. But since I'm doing them individually, I felt it was more important to tie into that individual flower than it was to tie them all together. The other reason is that brown was kind of close to this brown that I ended up having dyed, and I didn't want the border to stand out. Now the downside to that is on flowers like this one, that dashed line where this leaf leans over it blends in. So if, like, I grab a random pen here, that's too fat of a pen. Hang on, I have a pencil, I have film right next to my desk. That stitch right there, that is one of these dashed lines. And so if it were brown, you would perceive this as one lobe of a leaf and another lobe of a leaf. Granted, after I put in the rest of the leaf, that would help. But right now, it kind of looks like a leaf with a hole in it. So it's not the end of the world. And on a lot of them, I went and looked at the patterns when I saw this, because I'd only done 1.5 of these, and I was like, well, if it's really terrible and it's going to happen a lot, maybe I'll switch. But no, the other ones are more like this, where you're not going to have the interaction between the darkest green and the border very much. This is one with kind of the most dark green border spilling over on it, I think. I didn't look like super closely, but I just kind of skimmed the patterns. So that's a little bit unfortunate, and it's something I wanted to mention in case you're thinking of doing it like this, so that you can know that you probably want to think about whether or not you really want to do that darkest green. I would not advocate doing like the darkest color in the flower, because as you can see, there's a lot more of them where that's going to interact with this border than it is with the leaves. Most of them are primarily flower and less leaf. So anyway, that was just something to note. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think this is probably going to be the highest impact flower, and it's not going to be a significant impact. So I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to hope to finish November before the actual November rolls around. Fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. So that was my flower of the month. Did I mention that it's by maurer-stroh? I don't remember if I mentioned that. It's still available on her website. It's still free. If you check in the description box, I'll have a link to a blog post where I've got links to all of these patterns. It's way easier to put links in the blog post than it is to put links in YouTube's description bar, because they don't let you put... You can't write text that says click here and is a clickable link in YouTube's description bar as far as I know. So I put them in a blog post where I can do that. Anyway, oh, and I keep forgetting to tell you, this, I mentioned it was on 28 count Monaco. I am doing it 3/2 with just DMC. Just the colors called for, nothing fancy. And then finally I have one project that's my poor neglected project. This is Cliffhanger, artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And it is, I believe, large for a regular size Heaven and Earth Designs, because it is 132 pages. And I'm pretty sure that is like way big. Again, if you have experience with Heaven and Earth Designs and know what is a typical page size for them, I'm curious. Because I feel like I have a really small one and a really large one going, and they're my first two that I've done. I own 2 more patterns, but I haven't started them. Anyway. 'Tis not particularly important, but this poor thing. Okay, so last time I was on here, I showed it to you and I said, I've only done 1 day of progress, but I'm going to work on it for the rest of this week, so I'll get more progress done. Yeah, I didn't work on it for the rest of that week. I was busy and I did other things, and also I wasn't entirely thrilled with working on it, which I'll talk about in just a second. So I didn't work on it for the rest of that week. It's come up in my rotation again. So I've worked on it for 1 day, and I'm going to work on it again this week. Hopefully for real this time before the next video. The poor thing. So, this is where we're at. I'm still on page 1. It's this little corner of bookshelf up here. And I am working on this. I am doing this. Get my metallic gridding thread out of the way. This is a 28 count? Yes, 28 count bone Lugana. I checked the color this way. The color this time, it is bone. I got a yard of it on eBay for cheap. Well, cheap. Anyway, 28 count Lugana, bone colorway. I am working this 2/1 in Continental Tent Stitch, which is, it's like half cross, but it affects how you do the continental part refers to how you do the back, so that way your whole project doesn't end up skewed, basically. And what I had been doing, as you can see evidence of here, is I had been going cross-country with one color. So if you're not familiar, cross-country means basically you take one strand of floss and you follow that color all around the page, or the whole pattern. Some people do the whole pattern. Obviously with 132 pages, I'm just doing 1 page at a time. Because, yeah, that would, no, not happening. So you follow that one color until you either run out of the symbols of that color or you run out of your floss, and then you pick another color and you follow it around. In contrast with parking, you do all of you take a very, very small area within the page and you do all of the stitches of a certain color in that tiny area, and then you park your thread, leave it ready for the next stitch you need to do in the next tiny area. So you'll work and completely fill in a tiny area, and then completely fill in another tiny area, and then completely fill in another tiny area. And the tiny areas can be like a 10 by 10 square, a 20 by 20 square, a 1 by 20 row, you know, whatever you want to do. Just in case you weren't familiar, I suspect most of you are, but I also talk about knitting, so there may be some knitting people here. Anyway, I was doing this cross-country thing. And I hate it. I hate cross-country. I gave it a shot. I gave it 3/4 of the first page. And here's the thing. I make mistakes when I do cross-country because I count, and sometimes I make mistakes when I count. Everyone sometimes makes mistakes when they count. But with cross country, it takes a really long time before I get to the stitches that are next to it and realize that I've made a mistake, and at that point there's no way to fix it. When I do parking, very, very quickly, I come to that stitch and I go, wait, that's in the wrong spot. And so if I want to, I can very easily take it back out and fix the mistake. And because I'm only working in a tiny spot, I have less distance to count, so I'm less likely to make the mistake in the first place. So one, I make mistakes. The other thing is it stresses me out. It stresses me out so much to figure out the most optimal route to follow, because I hate flipping my thing over and tying off the ends. So I don't want to like flip it over and tie off the ends and then move it tiny ways over and flip it over and start it and do a few stitches and then tie off the end. No, 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 no. So what I want to do is I want to find the most optimal route to follow to minimize the amount of thread that I have on the back. But I don't like it. It stresses me out to try to figure out what the most optimal way is. And sometimes I miss a stitch. You know, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches over here. And maybe I see 1, 2, 4, and 5. And then I'm like way down here when I realize that, oh, there was stitch number 3 up here that I need to come back up to. So then I figure out this optimal route. And then I gotta bring my thread way up here and come back and go back down. I know some people love cross country. I hate it. Once I discovered parking, I was so much happier. Now, I do cross country on things like the Flower of the Month and the 12 Days of Christmas because they're not full coverage, and so parking really works better on full coverage pieces. That's what it's really designed for. So, yesterday I was working on this and I was like, man, I hate this. I hate the cross country on it. I suspect that's why part of the reason I didn't work on it all that last week when I said that I was going to work on it for the rest of the week, and I didn't. So what I decided to do is I was like, you know what, I'm just going to park. Now the problem with continental tent stitch is because it's half stitches, you go down one row with your stitches going like this, and then you come up one row with your stitches going like this. Basically, that's not actually the exact pattern of continental tent stitch, but you kind of take your thread down and then you bring your thread back. You take your thread down and you bring your thread back. So that means that doing the rows like I like to do with my 4 Heavenly Beasts wouldn't be a very good idea, because I would have to do one row this way and then another row this way and then another row this way and then another row this way, and that would get really confusing and easy to mess up. So I decided to do 10 by 10 blocks. I'll do a 10 by 10 block continental tent stitch, and then I'll park in the next 10 by 10 block, and then I'll, you know, do the next color in that first 10 by 10 block and then park. I will link, there's a video by Carolyn Mazzier. Let me make a note to myself. She has a video on how to park while you're tent stitching, because again, because of how you do the continental tent stitch, it's a little bit confusing. And she has a great video on it. That's where I learned how to do it. So I'll just, on my blog post talking about this video, I'll just link to that in case you want to see it. But anyway, this is the way overcomplicated way to say that I went down to this area, which was almost done, and I started parking, and I finished, you know, this block, and then 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 this block. I did so much more because I was like, oh, I'm finishing these blocks, and they're all filled in, and it looks great. I have decided I think I'm going to kind of take a leaf out of Jessie Marie's book, and she took a leaf out of someone else's book, but I don't remember whose, and do these diagonally. You know, I'm doing the pages diagonally on my 4 Heavenly Beasts, and I tend to do the pages diagonally on this one too. So after I finish this page, I'll do this page, and then this page, and then this page, and this page, and you know, it just kind of gives you new things to work on. So I'm thinking I may do this diagonal thing just because it was fun. It was kind of fun. At the time, it just kind of logically worked out to fill in the most filled in squares and then go onward. So I may do that. If I do, this was confusing to me at first when Jessie Marie was talking about it. So what I do is if I'm working this 10 by 10 square, I park down below it, and then I go and work this 10 by 10 square and I park down below it, and I don't come to the threads that I parked until I've done this square and now I'm back, you know. So I'm not like stitching this square and then parking diagonally down. I still park straight down. I just work them diagonally because I find that more fun. I don't know. Really, yeah, I switched to parking because the cross country was stressing me out, and life is far too short to be stressed out by your cross stitch. And if anyone tells you you have to do something that stresses you out, they're wrong. Like, I don't even care what it is. If they tell you you have to do something with your cross stitch that stresses you out, ignore them. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh man, I love cross country, I hate parking, great, you keep doing that. Just don't tell me to do it and we'll all be happy. So anyway, the upshot is I am feeling a lot more positive about this project now that I just decided to go ahead and switch, and I'm gonna carry on as I was, and we'll see. Hopefully, because I'm now like super raring to go, this upcoming week I will continue to work on this, and so next time you see it, we'll have a lot of progress, because my progress stats on this are not very good. Yeah, so you know how I was saying that I have that projection of finish on on Heaven and Earth Designs? I'm currently at 0.8%, so not 8%, 0.8%, less than 1%. My projected finish is in 2095, which would make me, what, 108 years old. So I kind of need to get going faster on that. Now, I will say that the way this estimate works, because I've done less than a single page, that's really not a lot of data for it to work from, and so things like 1 week I didn't work on it very much that happened last week has a huge impact on that number, because there's not a lot of data to, you know, cushion it and say, oh, that week of not working on it doesn't happen very often. We hope, fingers crossed. So I'm not concerned about it, but for me that's a nice motivation. If it stresses you out, again, don't do it. Life's too short to be stressed out by your cross stitch. So that's where I'm at. I've worked on all 4 of those. Let me check my notes. Yeah, it's, you know, July now, so it's not even halfway, it's over halfway through the year, and I was kind of looking back on what I've been thinking about, because I kind of loosely had some goals for the year, and I'm definitely, the biggest one that I had was I wanted to finish, where'd he go? I wanted to finish my 12 Days of Christmas. There he went. I wanted to finish my 12 Days of Christmas because I started the year with, I think I was into the 2nd day, and I was thinking, oh, well, if I do 1 day per month, then I'll be done before December. I'll have time to finish it. I can put it up with my otherwise non-existent Christmas decorations, because I don't really do Christmas, but for whatever reason I wanted to do this project. However, as you can see, we're in month 7 and I've barely started day 5, so that's not really happening. So I'm trying to I'm trying to focus on getting some more cross-stitching done. I've kind of rearranged my schedule, so hopefully I'll have a little bit more time for it. I kind of have some constraints with like the lighting situation and the where I can put my stand situation, so I kind of have to like specifically schedule it in if I want it to get done. But hopefully I will have more progress. I'm hoping, you know, by next time that I'll be well into day 6 of the 12 Days of Christmas and everything else moving along. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, hopefully there will be more progress next time. Okay, that really is everything. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this, you may want to subscribe. Just as a heads up, I do more knitting type videos than cross-stitching videos, but I do my cross-stitching videos fairly regularly. I am not quite sure what next week's video is going to be. I am thinking about doing a video kind of like how I knit, because everyone, you know, different ways of holding your yarn and needles and all that jazz, which you're cross-stitch people, you probably don't care all that much about. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be, but it's probably going to be knitting related. Yeah, that was everything. I have totally lost my train of thought and I don't know what I was saying. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Hope to see you again in my next cross-stitching video, and if you like knitting stuff, hope to see you again next week. Bye!